TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift's emerging top sire Into Mischief, the #1 apex sire in North America. Look for his biggest and best crop to date at upcoming 2-year-old sales.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Triple Crown. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, we have 2 horses in the TCI Top 5 running this weekend, but before we jump into that, let's recap a couple of races from last weekend. Man, I got to give it to you, Songbird. That filly is phenomenal, man. I'm starting to hope that they actually change their mind and run this horse in the Derby.
She ran Polar River out of Oaks consideration. I mean, she not only has appeal here in the U.S., even internationally, they know how good she is. And you're right, she's as good as most of these colts. It's just whether or not, they're going to finally look at the Santa Isabel performance in her first run of the year and realize that she's just breezing against these fillies. The Oaks seems like it's going to be a Rachel Alexander type Oaks. I mean, unless Karina Mia, who's in a quarantine situation right now at Palm Bay Downs, unfortunately, she might only have one prep for the Oaks. So you start looking at the Oaks picture and you see her in a situation where she's going to be an overwhelming favorite. Does Rick Porter want to take a shot, try to win the Kentucky Derby with the best horse maybe he's ever had in a year that I think she'd be a top 3 contender? Or does he want to run in the Oaks and take the easier path? I mean, he's going to have to find some soul searching. I know all along he said Oaks, but I tell you what, John, what do they have here? 14 days to figure it out or something like that? They have until the 21st to figure it out, so it'd be very interesting to see what they do.
I'll tell you how good this filly is. Mike Smith, on her back, starstruck, watching himself on the big screen. He said, hey, I had to stop watching the big screen and say, hey, let's get back to racing here and make sure you don't fall off. That's how good she is. And Mike has ridden some really good horses in the past. So, I mean, I hope that they change their mind. I think the fillies deserves a shot to run in the Derby. But listen, Rick Porter, it's his decision. We all know what's happened in the past. No pressure there. If he wants to run in the Oaks, there's nothing wrong with running in the Oaks and then going into the Preakness by any means.
And we're going to talk about San Felipe today. And I think if she were in this field, I'm looking at this field of 7 right now, it's a pretty good race. If she were in here, John, she'd be odds on, and I think she'd win comfortably. That's how good I think she is, just as a scale perspective, and that's why I think she's a Derby contender.
All right, well, let's talk about the Gotham. As impressive as Songbird was, I got to tell you, I didn't think Shagaf was very impressive in the Gotham. I felt like he kind of just plotted his way to victory there, but yet I see you still got him in the in number 6 in the TCI Top 10.
Well, it wasn't an impressive race. We talked about how would the pace unfold. You had a low band breaking from the inside. A horse by Uncle Mo has some talent. He showed the way and almost pulled it off on the front end.
Right.
Sort of looking like Moreno there in the Southern Equine Silks. But class prevailed. Shagaf had a hard time running him down, but he got there. And look, he stays undefeated. He has a reputation. First time around 2 turns. I would have personally liked to have seen a little faster race like you mentioned. But I think he's an established horse in terms of being a legit top 10 contender. You can't knock that he's undefeated. He's at the 6th spot for us, and he's going to stay in that 6th spot, John. I'm not going to move anybody in my top 10. But there was another race at Aqueduct on Sunday that, in my view, was more impressive than the Gotham Stakes, and that was an allowance race, a simple allowance. You had Matt King Cole, impressive maiden winner last year, coming back making his 3-0 debut. He's run very fast. Now, he snuck away on that inner track, won gate to wire, but what impressed me was a horse in our top 10, My Man Sam, who skipped the Gotham, took a conservative path, ran an allowance race. He didn't win, but he came rolling late despite a pretty soft pace and only got beat a length, and they got a much better buyer number than the Gotham did the day before. So when I look at those races on that weekend, My Man Sam's a colt that's going to remain in the top 10 for us because, again, as a closer, his upside going forward as the distances and pace scenarios project to get a little better for him. I think My Man Sam's a horse that can make an impact.
All right, I don't think I've ever seen you leave a horse that ran second in an allowance in the TCI
rare.
Top 10. I mean, does that speak to the quality of 3-year-olds that we have right now? I mean, going into this weekend?
I think that's a great point, and we're going to talk about it in the San Felipe and the Tampa Bay Derby. I think there's so much parity that we're going to see. I mean, you talked about 2 horses in the top 5 for us, More Spirit and Brody's Cause. Neither one of those horses have to win this weekend, John. I mean, they're both closers. I think they're going to get better as the distances stretch out, and they're going to project maybe to be in late spring going a classic distance. Very nice horses at Churchill Downs, but they don't lay over the fields that they're going to run against this weekend. I think there's a very unique crop from a parity standpoint and a very unique weekend we're going to see. I don't remember in covering this, we've done this 7 years now, and certainly there's probably been some weekends that have rivaled this, but in the last few years, I don't remember a weekend where you had 2 major preps like this that were as wide open as these. I mean, I look at these fields, John, I honestly believe there's 5 horses in each of these races, the Tampa Bay Derby or San Felipe, that could win this weekend. And then it really turns the 3-year-old pitcher upside down on its face. So, we break down these races. We'll kind of get into that a little bit. A lot of parity, and I think Brody's Cause and More Spirit are definitely up against a tough field this weekend.
Well, let's jump right in there and talk about More Spirit. I mean, this is a horse we mentioned last weekend. He had a breeze that a lot of people thought, hey, he may be off the Derby trail.
Yeah.
Bob reined everybody in, and he's got the horse back on track. He does look to be tough in here, but tell me, what do you think is going to happen here in the San Felipe?
Well, I think the horse is doing fine. I'm not picking against him because I don't think he's legitimate or I think there's something wrong with him. But I do think that there are other horses, I think, to have a better chance to win this race. First of all, mile and 16th, I'm not so sure it's going to be his best distance. I wasn't very impressed with his last performance. I think he's going to want a mile and 1/8, mile and 1/4. That's why he's top 5 for me. It's all about Baffert. The guy knows how to do it, managing a horse that's a grade 1 winner and has a true, legitimate stride and pedigree profile to handle a mile and 1/4 in May. That's why he's top 5. Brody's Cause, I'll even say the same for him, but again, they don't have to win this weekend. A tight track like Santa Anita against a contentious up-and-coming group in the San Felipe, John, I just have the feeling that More Spirit's going to be up against it. He's going to grind away, but if there's somebody that's more explosive than him over that tight track, I think he can be beaten this weekend. And I look at Dancing Candy, a horse that's going to be on the pace in here. I Will Score should set a legitimate pace along with him. You think there's going to be enough speed. Smoky Image, I see him sitting off of it, but he's a horse that I think can win this race as well. Exaggerator, he's the most tactical horse in the race. Where's Kent DeSorma going to put him? I see him in a outside stalking trip in here. So there's a lot of horses that could be forwardly placed. More Spirit's going to try to stalk and maybe close into that. The horse that I think has the most upside from off the pace, maybe the most explosive punch, maybe Cupid, another Bob Baffert horse. He's a horse I will pick in here. It took him a while to figure things out. He was very green in his last performance last time out, but he improved around 2 turns, John. He came home, in 6 and 2, and he was doing it on his own. Green, never asked by the rider, had a good gallop out last time out. So if the light bulb goes off on Cupid, he's a horse that to me is a big enough talent that in the stretch I could see him having the best turn of foot here to finish it off in the San Felipe. But again, I mentioned 5 horses. I really believe that any 5 of the ones can win.
All right, well, let's move now then to the Tampa Bay Derby. It's interesting in here. I see a lot of horses that look like they might be deciding to not go the Florida Derby route just, because of Mohaymen, including Awesome Banner. He's a horse that ran in the Fountain of Youth last time coming back in here. And I'm excited to see Brody Cause. I want to see how he does in this race. And, of course, you have Destin, horse that won the Sam Davis last time out. Tell me, what do you think about this race?
Well, the Tampa Bay Derby is a good prep because it's a sandier track. You usually get to dodge the heavy hitters. The horses get a lot out of it running on that tiring type track, and there's usually not a bias on that track. Everybody knows at Gulfstream, if you don't have speed, you're pretty much up against it most days there. So it's a good starting spot, in my view, for Brody's Cause, who's a distinct closer. He's going to be coming from the back in here. And again, first off the layoff, Dale Roman hits at 6%. So facing a field like this, John, on a track that's a little bit questionable, anytime, considering he's going to be one of the favorites in here, I wouldn't bet the horse in this race. I think they're probably going to use this as a stepping stone to maybe the Bluegrass and then on to the Kentucky Derby. And again, it's building him to early May. So don't expect a lights-out performance from Brody's Cause. The good thing for Brody's Cause is I do think he's going to get some pace in here. You have the 1 horse and the far outside horse, the 10 horse, Awesome Banner, the 1 horse Morning Line. Both legitimate speed horses, John. Awesome Banner, I think, is a brilliant sprinter. It's going to be hard for them to take him back in any way. You got Taylor Saval that's shown some speed. He's coming off a layoff in here. And then you have some tactical horses like Outwork, Economic Model, and Riker that I think have that tactical ability. So I think the pace will be legit in here to set up Brody's Cause and even Destin's late closing kick. But there's some other 3-year-olds in here that I like, that I think are talented. Outwork and Economic Model. If I were betting the race, I would bet one of those 2 colts. We've heard about Chad Brown's 3-year-olds all spring long. Here's a horse that was very good breaking his maiden at Saratoga, has a 2-turn pedigree. They're finally getting him around 2 turns. First try as a 3-year-old, they're going to run him in the grade 2 swell. That's not like Chad Brown. He's a conservative guy. He would normally take the allowance path like he did with my man Sam. Well, he didn't. Economic Model is clearly a colt he thinks a lot of, shown a ton of ability. I think he could be better around 2 turns. So Economic Model is a horse that I'm very interested in seeing run here. I think he has the ability and the upside to maybe pull this off. And then Outwork, very similarly, John, another up-and-coming colt that I'm very interested to see for Todd Pletcher, horse that has a big reputation, has worked very well down there. His comeback race at Tampa was very good, so we know he likes that track. He has a pedigree being out of an Empire Maker mare and being by Uncle Mo.
Yep.
I think he should handle the 2 turns. Be interested to see if he can do that. So to me, I'm intrigued by Outwork and Economic Model this weekend in the Tampa Bay Derby. Brody's cause, he doesn't have to win, but I want to see him run well.
You know, it's funny, you just said you got 2 horses in the top 5, you pick both of them, you know, to maybe not win their races. So it's a very interesting weekend for sure. Thank you, Joel. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We'll recap these races and we'll see how the 2 top 5 horses do from the TCI Top 10.